the way an instrument works. The first time I put a guitar against my body, and my friend showed me how to make one chord, and I strummed, and I feel the resonance of the unity of those 6 notes making a chord and hitting my body is like magic.
I want you standing by my side. Tell me to face the rising tide. Be whatever you wanna be, but please want you to ride with me.
Welcome back to Ashford Gordon from the beginning. When last we spoke, my band had just been booked at Eric Erickson's on the Ventura Pier, where we would hold forth for a nearly 3-year residency. Eric's had taken my suggestion and had clear poly sheets hung all the way around the upstairs deck, along with strategically placed pavilion heaters like all restaurants with outdoor seating used. The band had played our first gig at Eric's in the bar upstairs, but just as I had suspected, the room was all glass, tile, stainless steel, and hardwood, causing the sound to bounce wildly around the bar, making it difficult for the bartenders to hear their patrons' orders. So the very next week, we took the show outside, and in short order, Eric's had to add tables on both flanks of the deck to accommodate crowds that had grown to a boisterous, appreciative new source of trade for the restaurant. The experience with Jackie in the band had proved to be magic, and he was given the permanent spot next to me on all bandstands. A general panic had fallen over the world. The impending advance from 1999 to the year 2000 had conspiracy theorists and religious scholars alike baffled, befuddled, and beside themselves with competing scenarios involving computer programs failing, a worldwide financial collapse, and the second coming of Jesus Christ, all rolled into one. Whole industries sprung up overnight, purporting to offer protection from all the unknown calamities ahead, with the exception of the second coming, in which case everyone would have to stand for themselves. The band and I had held the weekly residency at Eric Erickson's for nearly 3 years before our run ended and the entertainment budget was defunded on the pier. However, that wonderful manager who had originally hired us had left Eric's and was now manager of a neat little steakhouse a quarter of a mile down the beachfront promenade, where once again we were installed with a fresh residency at the curiously named Banana Belt Cantina. The manager intended to draw our fans from the pier to the California Plaza, flanked by the aged but serviceable Crown Plaza Hotel and the Banana Belt. For months after Eric's ended our Sunday afternoon blues shows, patrons from around Southern California who had caught even one of our performances demanded to know where the band had gone. They accosted the waitstaff so virulently that several of Eric's waitstaff followed the manager and the band to the Banana Belt when the afternoon trade fell alarmingly, to the point where shifts were cut due to a lack of patrons. The new location grew in popularity, just as Eric's had, with many of the band's fans becoming known by name at the modern redwood finished restaurant done up in a surfing theme with large comfortable booths covered in soft fabric with high backs and a commanding view of the plaza, the promenade, and the beach bellied up to the sometimes agitated Pacific Ocean. Each Sunday afternoon, we erected our set against the kitchen wall adjacent to the floor-to-ceiling wine rack and poured out 3 smoking sets of our signature blues before striking the set, loading out, and taking our hard-earned cash back to our homes. One rain-soaked Sunday, the restaurant was populated by a few couples holding hands, laughing softly in their leisure, a handful of regulars at the bar, and several of our die-hard fans. I was working my way through an up-tempo solo when a shaggy slip of a man in a top hat painted red, white, and blue, akin to the one Uncle Sam sported, strolled in with his hands cocked over his mouth. His long, gray-streaked hair fell to his shoulders. He wore bell-bottom pants and a waistcoat. His face, whatever I could see above his cupped hands, was worn and deeply creased. He danced a little jig as he entered the main room from the foyer, and I could now hear harmonica notes trilling up and down the scale as the man drew near the bandstand. I knew this character, and he smiled as the dance continued and the harmonica rang out in counterpoint to my guitar lines. It was Hippie Mark, so called as he had never transitioned from a Grateful Dead fan, following that band through every state in the nation for nearly 20 years until Jerry Garcia's death in the late 80s, ever hoping for a free ticket to each show when he didn't have one. In fact, it appeared that Hippie had never replaced the clothes he had worn as a Deadhead for 2 decades. I knew that Hippie played guitar and performed his folk and blues acts sporadically downtown, but I didn't know he could blow blues harp to such a masterful extent. His performing range had been curtailed when his VW microbus blew a transmission and he'd been relegated to the venues he could reach by bike. The band members knew Hippie from the Cafe Voltaire days, so there were greetings and salutations all around. I had not considered expanding the band to a 5-piece, partially because the arrangements were nice and tight with only 2 soloists to accommodate, but also because a 5th member would reduce the take on every gig. Yet I remembered the Paul Butterfield Blues Band out of Chicago in the mid-60s and how powerful the blues harmonica-driven sound of that band, with Mike Bloomfield on first guitar and Elvin Bishop on second guitar, had sounded, heavily influenced as it was by Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf's bands that featured harp greats like Junior Wells, Little Walter Jacobs, and the Wolf himself. Right before my eyes, I saw the appetite to add blues harp to the band grow. I needed time to think through the ramifications of adding another member to the band. The case was made for how cool it would be to be the only blues band in Ventura County, other than the Preacher's Blues Band, with a smoking hot harp player. I responded that an additional player cuts the split for everyone. Well, needless to say, this argument was not bought by the band members, so my band grew to include the frequently ethereal Hippie Mark. I present to you now from the Somewhere Down the Line sessions the unreleased The Boss Is Always Smiling, featuring D.C. Kramer on bass, Dynamic Dave Stewart on drums, and yours truly on vocals and guitars, followed by Jerry Ain't Around, my ode to Jerry Garcia, featuring Jackie Lomax on first guitar, D.C. Kramer on bass, Dynamic Dave Stewart on drums, Hippie Mark on blues harp, and myself on second guitar and vocals, also from the Somewhere Down the Line sessions.
Little old bar, 12:30 in the morning, playing blues on my guitar. Still I'm wondering, when will it be my turn to be a star? I played with the biggest, I played with the best, with the biggest, they really put me to the test. Never wanted was my name and lights like all the rest. I see the boss is smiling, 'cause he knows he's got it made, and he'll take the credit and call it. I know he'll change. song. Things have changed, now we've grown along. Terrapin Station, you got to get on down. Tearing around, tearing around, tearing around. Way down on the Upper Page Street, there was a blind man I was chance to meet. Had a little bitty natural food store. Swore Jerry would save him, then he learned to score. Terrapin Station, you got to get on down. Tearing around, tearing around, tearing around. Terrapin Station, you got to get on down. Tearing around, tearing around, tearing around. I've told you my tale, but it don't seem right until I tell you about that Fillmore night. Tears rain from the window pane. Jerry was blowing like a hurricane. Terrapin Station, you got to get on down. Tearing around, tearing around, tearing around.
Looking forward to next week, we'll cover my son Gabriel Gordon's tutelage under my guidance into the world of personal expression through the guitar, and our long-desired collaboration on the CD project, Planetary Man. I'll see you next time for another Ashford Gordon Throwback Thursday. Bye.
Bud walked in, he sat right down, said there's a lot of pain in this town. I was wondering while he spoke if he realized that it sounded like a joke. But sis, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is.